Welcome ulit sa Hopia Break. Uh, this is me, Jason Lamchek. I'm from the Australian National University College of Law. With me are...
I'm Sai Rago.
I'm Kyra Zoe Cañete. I'm from the University of New South Wales, a PhD researcher.
And I'm Regina Macalendag, a PhD researcher at the Crawford School of Public Policy at the ANU.
All right, so we're meeting again to do a recap of our last Hopia break, which was entitled PhilHealth and OFWs, Anong ambag mo? Where we had a discussion with Bernardo Shelo II from PhilHealth, a researcher whose specialization is actually universal healthcare in the Philippines and how to fund it. So we thought it best to start with a video of an OFW who's expressing her disapproval for the proposal to extract mandatory contributions from OFWs to fund PhilHealth. Okay, so maybe we should listen to that video first.
Mga OFW tungkol sa mandatory contribution or membership ng PhilHealth. Noong April 22nd, may pinalabas sa social media ang PhilHealth. Ito ay tungkol sa PhilHealth Circular Number 2020-0014 entitled Premium Contribution and Collection of Payment of Overseas Filipino Member. At sa title pa lang ay marami ng mga OFW ang nagtaas ng kanilang mga kamay. So ano nga bang maibibigay ng PhilHealth sa isang OFW na katulad ko? Ito na talaga mga kabayan, medyo na-trigger na. Unang-una, wala po tayo sa Pilipinas. Dito sa Qatar po, meron kaming insurance which is the Hamad Health Card, cost 100 reals po. Karamihan ng mga companies dito ay sila ang sumasagot dito sa health card na ito. Hindi po ito parang PhilHealth na mababawasan lang po ang inyong hospital bill. Kapag pumunta po kami sa Hamad, normally wala na po kaming binabayaran. May babayaran man kami siguro kapag na-admit kami, magkano lang yan? Siguro 9 reals, 90 reals lang po siya. Ilang araw na po yun na na-confine ka. Yung mga surgery, mga medicine ay talagang libre naman na po yun. Meron ding libreng health card na binibigay ang company ko. Yan po yung MedLife. Ito po, pwede ko siyang gamitin sa Pilipinas, though magka-cash out po muna ako, pero totally yung bill ko sa Pilipinas, pwede ko po siyang i-reimburse pagbalik ko ng Qatar. At ang maganda po dito, kahit saang panig ako ng mundo, basta credited po yung hospital ng MedLife, ay magagamit ko siya. Kaya ang tanong ko po, ang PhilHealth, kapag po ba nandito ako sa Qatar, yung PhilHealth ko, magagamit ko dito? Siyempre hindi po, di ba? Pangalawa, yung mga insurance po namin dito, pwede ka pong ma-confine agad kahit wala ka pang nilalabas na pera. Ang PhilHealth po, member ka nga pero kahit mamatay ka na kung wala kang maibigay na pera sa hospital, ay hindi ka pa rin nila i-admit. Pangatlo, kaming mga OFW, halos once a year lang kami umuwi. At ito ay para po sa bakasyon namin. At syempre, pag nagbabakasyon po kami, we make sure na physically fit kami. At syempre, relax-relax lang. Kaya parang malabong percentage po na pag uuwi kami ng Pilipinas ay ma-hospital kami o kung anumang magkakaroon kami ng sakit. Pang-apat, since married po ako, hindi ako makakadagdag ng beneficiary. Hindi ko maidadagdag yung kapatid ko, yung nanay ko, or yung tatay ko. So itong 29,400 ay para lamang sa akin. Plus, dalawa kami ng asawa ko. So kung 29,400, technically, ang babayaran naming dalawa is 60,000 pesos. Pang-lima. Since nandito ako sa abroad at kung sakali na mamatay man ako dito, knock on the wood po, wala naman akong makukuha sa contribution ko. Dahil sa PhilHealth po, hindi naman po applicable yun kapag namatay ka na. So, babay na lang po sa contribution. Pang-anim, bakit po kasama ang OEC dito sa patakaran na ito? Kapag hindi kami nagbayad, hindi kami makakakuha ng OEC. Kaya alam naman po natin na kapag ang isang OFW ay walang naipakitang OEC sa ating airport report immigration ay hindi po kami makakaalis ng bansang Pilipinas. At sa totoo lang po, yung mga ibang OFW ay nahihirapan ng kumuha ng OEC. Dumagdag pa itong contribution na ito. So doble-dobleng pahirap na po talaga ito sa mga OFW. Pang-pito, kapag hindi po kami nakabayad, magkakaroon po yan ng interest. So para pong nagkaroon tayo ng utang na hindi natin alam. Pang-walo, sabi nilang mga OFW daw po ay hindi nagbabayad ng tax. First of all, nagpapadala po kami every month sa Pilipinas. At every month po na nagpapadala kami sa Pilipinas ay meron na po yung tax. Yan ay tax ng remittance center plus tax sa bangko. Kaya wag niyo pong sabihin na hindi po kami nagbabayad ng tax. So I think this should be enough para matawag na ambag ng mga OFW. Pang-siyam, oo, maganda ang PhilHealth kung nasa Pilipinas ka. Madami rin naman itong mga natutulungan dahil sa deduction ng hospital bills. Pero para idagdag niyo po ito para sa mga bills ng mga OFW, sana naman po ay naisip niyo rin yung mga kalagayan namin dito abroad. Pang-sampo, buti sana kung pwede namin itong i-cash out. Pero hindi. Mas maigi pa ang SSS at pag-ibig na pwede kaming mag-cash out, pwede pa kaming mag-loan. Eh sa PhilHealth po, di ba hindi naman po pwede? Panghuli, Philippines is a democratic country. Hindi ba karapatan din namin na mamili kung anong health insurance ang pwede namin i-avail? Actually, maraming mga private insurance din na mas maganda pa yung benefit na pwede naming makuha. At talaga namang mapapakinabangan namin to. Pwede pa kaming magdagdag ng mga beneficiary, merit ka man o hindi. Pwede rin itong i-cash out. At kung mamamatay ka man, may makukuha pa rin ang iyong pamilyang maiiwan. Naku, hindi po talaga ako sang-ayon dyan. At alam ko, maraming gigil ng mga OFW dahil dito sa contribution na ito.
Nard, ano yung pinakatampok na napulot natin na paano ba ito iput? Na pwede nating nakadagdag sa pag-appreciate natin dun sa narinig natin dun sa OFW na mga argumento laban dito sa bagong proposal na singilin yung mga mandatory contribution ng mga OFW to fund PhilHealth.
Sa akin, I remember, nagtanong ako kung ano yung basic features or provisions ng universal healthcare. Tapos, so, nasagot naman yun ni Bernard. Pero, feeling ko lang, medyo na hindi siguro na klaro yung kung ano talaga ang ini-expect natin from the universal healthcare as in Philippines version. Having listened to ito si ate from Qatar, no, na nga naman, parang hindi masyado pang nagtutugma kung ano yung sinasabi ng law, tsaka yung actual na experience or ma-experience na benefits ng mga OFW. Bakit sila sinasali as direct contributors and all.
Ano ba yung sinasabi ng law, Reg?
Di ba yun, ano yung
benepisyo makuha sa PhilHealth?
Government 90%,
90%.
specialty hospital 70%, tapos kung private 10%.
10%.
10% per person.
10%.
So 90% kapag government hospitals, dapat yung beds nila libre. Basic accommodation tawag doon, di ba?
70.
Pag government hospitals, 90%. Pag specialty hospital, 70%. Pag private hospitals, at least
10% lang.
Siguro yung mga heart, kidney, lungs, yung parang meron talagang focus na area of specialization. I think for me, Jason, yung gusto ko lang i-backtrack yung talagang sa first part ng discussion ni Bernard when he was talking about ano ba yung universal healthcare, di ba? And for me, I think based on the definition of having access to quality healthcare and lowering financial risks na hindi ka naman magiging pauper pagkatapos na ma-hospitalize ka or availing of important medical care, I think that's a very important thing to have I mean, not just sa Philippines, but in any society. And
Mm.
from my own experience lang na dito naka-base na Australia, I really appreciated the idea na wala kang insecurity. Di ba? Na magkakasakit ka, pupunta ka sa hospital, you will be well taken care of. So para sa akin, I'm really for that whole idea of universal healthcare. Pero that being said, definitely may parang disconnect at dissonance kung titingnan natin kung ano ba yung mga sentiments ng OFWs. Because definitely, hindi naman lahat ng OFWs, but many OFWs do have access to different forms of universal healthcare, di ba? At least si ate from Qatar was saying na hindi ka mamomroblema, etc. So I think they appreciate universal healthcare per se. But in relation to paano pinapa-implement yung universal healthcare, yung Philippines version, I think there are a lot of issues that still need to be unpacked and disentangled. No?
Yes. And so I think important na point na meron na tayong law, di ba? On universal healthcare. So hindi na siya debate na should we have it or not. We already have it.
And that's a good first step, I think.
Good first step. So it's a matter of how do we realize it, diba? So kasi if you have the law saying libre na dapat yung basic accommodation, okay? Tapos 90% sa public hospitals, that's a big thing kung mostly ang hospitals natin public. Pero kung ang hospitals natin mostly private, tapos 10% lang yung requirement sa mga private hospitals na basic accommodation na libre para sa mga tao, then that's problematic, di ba?
Yeah.
So di ba ano ba yung definition ng basic is you have was it private, no? Or was it semi-private na fan ventilation?
Fan
Or you have
And who actually monitors if private hospitals implement the policy? Because, like for example, if you go to a hospital and then they can always say no, we don't have the basic, which actually happened, or puno na,
which is
so
usually the case.
actually monitors, we don't have any ombudsman to make sure that law is implemented. Because like private hospital are always the private hospitals are always like after profit.
Yes.
Actually, that was one of sorry, Sai, did you wanna continue?
So that's dapat talaga yung universal health law and universal health care ay naka-angkla doon sa social justice din, di ba? At saka other structural issues ng Pilipinas. Kasi hanggat mas malaki talaga yung private hold sa healthcare sa Pilipinas, hindi talaga mararamdaman yung universality ng healthcare.
Yeah, because I think it was I think diba it was mentioned na kung hindi mo na-access yung basic na covered ng universal healthcare, so ikaw na yung mag-out of pocket, diba? So parang ganon. So that was also one of the things I was wondering about during the course of the discussion. The challenge of the existing healthcare system din sa Philippines, wherein you see a highly unregulated private sector na nagdo-dominate sa like I think about 70%. 70% is like physicians are in private practice or in private clinics or hospitals, and then konti lang talaga nang nandun under sa DOH or mga government hospitals.
Yeah, which makes the phenomenon of medical impoverishment a real thing in the Philippines, di ba? Lahat ng mga for example, na-admit ka and all that, out of pocket ka pa talaga. In our experience and also personally, konti lang yung natutulong ng PhilHealth. Yeah. So while meron niyang universal health coverage, yung see through sa implementation niya at pag ensure na may magmo-monitor sa service, itong services, health services na to, ay dapat mapa-ensure talaga, guarantee, no? Although sabi ng law, meron daw i-create na body to evaluate the services, health services. Pero isa pa rin yun na to be seen, remains to be seen pa rin. And while sabi nga ni Mads, no, na has to be connected to the whole structure. Ang tanong naman natin, how much nga ba talaga yung ina-allocate ng ating gobyerno vis-a-vis sa national budget natin? How much is allocated to health? And where do we get all the funding for the universal health care? And yung consistency and sincerity in the implementation of the law. Kaya madami pa ring tayong naririnig, especially kay example na yung kay ate, no, na mga yung sabi ni Kyra, dissonance and disconnect sa ideal that is the law and yung actual na implementation.
So
because I think OFW, kaya I can relate with their sentiments kasi I think they appreciate universal health law. Pero it's just unfair the way the law is, the intention and the design, why focus on them, running after the OFW and making them mandatory. In fact, there's other ways of funding it. Like for example, we discuss about those who are millionaires in the Philippines who are earning more. So why put a cap on the premium when
So if I can just collect muna, kasi now we're shifting from the idea of universal healthcare, what benefits we're getting out of PhilHealth in the law and in practice. Ngayon, we're shifting to the third question, which was also covered by our discussion last time, which is how do we fund universal healthcare, right? Kasi, so according to the law, supposedly, PhilHealth should be funded partly through mandatory contributions nga, no? Including OFWs, but not only from mandatory contributions, right? Another source is yung budget ng gobyerno for PhilHealth. So you already talked about it, Mads. Sabi mo, bakit ang budget for health napakaliit, di ba? That will affect how you implement universal healthcare in the Philippines, di ba? Kasi kung konti lang yung funding for PhilHealth, edi yung may bibigyan nilang serbisyo o benepisyo, maliit lang din, di ba? Okay, so nandun na tayo sa topic na yun. So, I also mentioned na sa law, it seems to be, ito na, tingin ko na emphasize ito sa discussion. Parang meron tayong tawag ko doon, billionaire shield. Parang shield ng batas yung mga yung mga millionaires and billionaires natin. How? Kasi sabi doon, yung contribution is capped at 60,000 pesos. Yun yung maximum contribution. So, sabi doon, everyone should pay 3% of their income, but not exceeding 60,000 pesos. But there are some of us, namely billionaires, na ang 3% ng income nila is not just 60,000, di ba? So, 60,000 is peanuts. Okay, so mayroong built-in doon, social injustice doon eh.
Kasi, may escape clause, parang gano'n. Tsaka din, Jay, yung funding source, kung i-insert natin yung discussion ng funding source, while in many countries, for example in Thailand, ang funding source ng universal health coverage scheme nila ay full from taxation. Yeah. Sa atin ay
part lang yung tax.
Oo. So ang sabi dito, manggagaling siya sa PAGCOR, 50%.
Mm-mm.
Tapos PCSO, 40%. Tapos the rest, premium contribution of direct contribution members. Tapos sa annual budget ng PhilHealth. Yun.
Presumably source from taxes, right?
Mm-mm.
So,
Which brings up the point na, sorry, kinakat kita. Sabi mo nga sa Thailand, taxes ang nagpa-fund ng university. Sa atin, bakit sa atin partly taxes lang? Where do our taxes go to begin with, right?
Diba? At bakit sa mga manggagaling pa sa PAGCOR or PCSO, which are mga, quotable na mga unsustainable, kumbaga, na mga fund sourcing, di ba?
Kasi gambling, no?
Oo.
So, what's actually partly funding universal healthcare is gambling, no?
Oo, parang,
Come to think of it,
in way, di ba, may dyan. Hindi masyadong okay. Parang pinopromote natin ang gambling to support health services.
May term dyan I attended one lecture, sabi moral laundering. So yung money coming from gambling, so socially tinitingnan na parang mga vices, so parang nagiging sanitized siya because it's used to fund things like healthcare.
Diba?
Yeah. So just to pursue my own question, where do our taxes go, right? Bakit shouldn't universal healthcare, sabi ni Duterte, di ba, isang achievement ng gobyerno niya, yung universal healthcare, shouldn't it be a priority? If they're serious about helping Filipinos not get impoverished or bankrupt when they get sick, that they should put more money into PhilHealth, right?
Pero sa natin, di ba, parang how many years ago pa natin etong nalalaman natin na say 40% of the national pie goes to foreign debt servicing. Tapos about 30% the military, di ba? And probably around ilang percent lang, 10 more or less, for social services. Eh magkano doon ang health?
Tapos ano pa yan? Allocate mo pa sa education.
Ano pa, kung anik-anik pa, di ba? So, yan, yung point na yan is parang basic na questionable siya sa in terms of priority say.
So it really parang begs the question of how well health is really prioritized in the country, because it will also reflect kung paano mo ina-allocate yung national budget, di ba?
It's a very basic issue. It's been a ng campaign to change the priority of the national government to allocating budget. So, dapat balikan yung mga ganon. And I think the OFW, kaya nga yung predicament nila, yung naging predicament nila in the first place, na ng ibang bansa sila, naghanap sila, they have to
provide for their own families.
Yeah, they have to provide because the social services
are really poor, di ba?
Is not provided by the national government.
So bumabalik yung question, di ba? So pinapasa-pasa, meron tayong big aspiration na universal healthcare, pero the government doesn't want to fund it.
Tapos may update pa.
OFW. Yung OFW kaya nga umalis sa bansa kasi wala services sa bansa.
What I would really want to know siguro, like how different are things with the new UHC na law, for example, in terms of tumataas ba talaga yung expenditure ng PhilHealth na pag-cover ng mga health needs or mga treatments for citizens na nag-a-avail. Dahil ang alam ko, since 1995 to 2007, yung talagang nagiging, although PhilHealth says, okay, there's 80% coverage of the population, but kung titingnan mo yung nagiging expenditure niya, that's from the national health accounts, is actually just about 9.1%. Well, compared to out-of-pocket na costs of those who actually availed is about 52% of that expenditure on health. So I don't know, has it changed? And that might be a good question to pursue when we're trying to monitor yung pag-implement ng universal healthcare. Kung nag-shift ba yung balance in terms of expenditures.
Yung for example, sa Thailand na case, nung before their universal health coverage, per capita health expenditure nila is $62. Tapos nung na-implement na yung UHC nila, naging $217 per person. So very significant yung increase nung subsidize nila sa health services. Sana ganun rin sa atin, no? So sabi ng ang law, according to one source, 54 billion daw yung inallocate sa first year ng UHC. Pero as to how much how much that is in terms of percentage sa total budget and talking about prioritization and all. Yan, that remains a question then.
So, what's the status now of the law? Kasi recently, Duterte said that the law, they put it on hold, yung paniningil sa mga OFW, right? So, I don't know if that's really true. Kasi lumalabas, and I've just read on Facebook that there's an OFW who was surprised na siningil siya.
Oo. Yung taga Hong Kong man.
So, mukhang yung pronouncement ni Duterte is just to suspend or to calm the people kasi alam niyang maraming umaalma. Pero actually, tingin ko wala naman talagang suspension. Otherwise, kailangan mong palitan yung batas kasi the law says that OFWs are mandatory contributors.
Na-mention yan ni Bernard last time din na mukhang ang sabi one populist remark or proclamation ng president, how will that hold water in terms of changing the law, right? So by pronouncing na okay, stop na muna and all, makakapag-stop ba talaga yan sa implementation ng law? Itong si ate naman, OFW from Hong Kong, sabi hindi nga, di ba?
Oo nga, bakit? Hindi, ewan ko lang, meron lang akong issue doon sa term na populist in that context. It's populist, it's just popular posturing. That's different from populism. Kasi, di ba?
How populist.
Gusto magpaka-populist talaga ni Duterte, then take on the billionaires. Diba? Take that on. Imbis na sasabihin niya, hindi ako agree na na isuspend na magkaroon ng mandatory contribution. Nakasulat po sa batas, sir eh. Diba? Unless you change the law, paano, diba? The government still can go after OFWs.
So actually, totoo yun, popular posturing. But actually, sa salitang kanto, ang gustong sabihin, kalokohan. Bulahan.
Diba?
Bulahan. Kasi, sa totoo lang, paano mo ipupostpone yan? And in fact, there are no...
Ang totoong populist, si Thaksin sa Thailand. At yung nila doon, mas totoo kaysa US sa Pilipinas. Sa atin, bolahan lang. Populist.
And in fact,
he's not even populist.
And in fact, ang PhilHealth hindi naglabas ng random or ng notice that the collection will be put on hold or postponed. Wala naman silang sinabi. Unless sasabihin nila yon, doon ako maniniwala. Sa tingin ko tuloy-tuloy pa rin yan. Gusto lang nilang pakupain yung galit ng mga OFW. So I think for OFWs out there, and not only OFWs but also Filipinos who support real universal healthcare at naniniwala na dapat karapatan ng mga tao, ng bawat isang Pilipino na magkaroon ng maayos na healthcare, dapat talaga ituloy lang yung pag-question dito sa batas na ito. Kasi I think,
pag-question at pag-review.
Pag-review, yes.
In a way, nakatulong din na si Duterte nagsabi na hindi siya pabor dyan sa 3%. Kasi that creates now the impetus to review the law.
So, sinabi ba niya na hindi siya pabor sa 3%?
Oo.
Sabi dapat voluntary, di ba?
Question na, hindi na pala tuloy, okay na. Di ba? End of the problem. So, at ang message natin ay, no really, OFWs, instead of na just believing yung message ni Tatay Diggs.
Question naman ng konti, no?
Is to study the issue even more deeply.
I think naman yung spirit ng pag-come up with the law is something that should be supported. I mean, it's really high time na meron talagang universal healthcare sa Pilipinas. From our own lived experiences, alam natin kung gaano yun kahalaga. But I think there are also a lot of things that kailangan pang talagang pag-isipan kung paano i-implement. For example, given the context of that very highly unregulated private sector, how do you deal with it? Diba? How do you ensure yung sa collection, for example, ano ba yung mga mas pinaka-appropriate ways of collecting the funds in order to finance universal healthcare, and paano ba talaga nagre-relate sa mga OFWs, because you can see from Ate's yung talagang grabe yung frustration niya, and we know where that comes from, di ba? From their own experiences din with the healthcare system sa Pilipinas, tapos yung of course a lot of the difficulties and challenges that a lot of OFWs face, because let's also face it, OFWs are not a homogeneous group, di ba? Maraming ding mga nagkakaproblema financially, maraming sinusuportahan back home, and all these things. But I think ang problem is parang nilalamp yung
wala pa akong naririnig so far na OFW na nagsabing yes. Naka-benefit ako dyan.
Oo. And I think I think one interesting thing that came up from the talk was actually yung informal, na-lump yung OFW sa informal sector. Tapos lumalabas na yung benefits na nakukuha surpasses the actual contributions. And I think
which is problematic.
There's something problematic in that formulation. It precludes us from really understanding kung ano ba yung specific case ng OFWs vis-a-vis the PhilHealth.
I hope hindi yung emphasis, yung data na yon na showcase ni Bernard sa presentation niya, I hope that doesn't reflect his own, in a way, position. I would read it as perhaps ito yung means ng PhilHealth to show to OFWs na, hey, actually you're benefiting more than you're which I think is really problematic, a really problematic message, because as we pointed out, in the first place, you can hardly argue that the OFWs or even Filipinos in the Philippines significantly benefit from
Parang sa empirical na, parang can hardly believe ba na sino-shoulder nga. Siguro siguro sa presentation ng data, why parang uncomfortable siya because hindi ba finactor, as in like syempre mas malaki yung contributors from Pinas, 'di ba? So kung i-compare mo yan sa OFW contributors, konti lang sila. And therefore, kung ano mo yan, you can say na mas sino-shoulder sila, no? By the
We have to the
So,
data.
parang kailangan i-review yung data na yon for me. Kailangan yung i-unpack pa ulit, I think. Kasi nga yung I think yung sinabi mo sa previous natin, Jason, is yung parang what was the term that you used? Parang incredible siya, something, no, na data na the OFWs are actually being subsidized by those contributors from Pinas.
But even if that were true, ang point ko naman ay it's still also true na yung benefit na nakukuha ng mga tao sa PhilHealth ay napakaliit, right? It's also true na there are other sources ng contribution na hindi OFW na pwede lang unahin. So in other words, I would still push for enlarging yung naibibigay na benefit ng PhilHealth. Right? They can do a lot of things para maging significant yung benefit ng PhilHealth without getting the funding for that from OFWs. Bakit ko nasabi yon? Kasi nga doon sa billionaire shield, no? Why don't they try taking that billionaire shield out of the law first? Diba? Why don't they try running after the billionaires first? Maybe, baka yung contribution ng billionaires mas malaki pa sa maiko-contribute ako.
So we do not burden OFWs all the more, no?
Saka unjust na i-burden mo pa yung OFW. Kasi nga, dahil maliit pa ngayon yung benepisyo na nakukuha ng mga tao sa PhilHealth, ang nag-shoulder ng cost ng healthcare ng mga Pilipino, partly, yung mga kamag-anak nila na may trabaho abroad, di ba? Pag nagkakasakit, di ba, mga kamag-anak ng OFWs, kanino tumatakbo? Di ba sa OFW?
W pa rin.
So actually,
Global property.
So actually, malaki na yung contribution ng OFW sa pag-shoulder ng health cost sa mga Pilipino. Di maghanap tayo ng ibang sector. Parang konti pa lang yung nako-contribute. At may na-identify tayo sa discussion natin yung mga billionaires, kasi they're only contributing 60,000 each. Imagine that.
Dahil may cap maximum na 60,000.
Diba? Bakit 3%? Ba't hindi equal? Diba? Bakit
equitable, oo. Diba?
So certainly a lot of things na kailangan pang pag-aralan. Dahil I think one of the main things na is hindi rin evidence informed yung so marami pang kailangang unawain, 'di ba? Tapos ma-link to a broader set of issues beyond yung contribution.
So with that, siguro pwede nating i-end the ating recap. Salamat ulit sa isa't isa.
Sa susunod na Hopia break.
Uulitin.
Kain na tayo ng Hopia.
Dapat may Hopia na magdadala.
Hopia na tayo.
Okay, salamat.
Bye!